10. Barstow, California. Imagine this, you're on a road trip from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, daydreaming about the neon lights, when your gas tank light starts flashing. The only thing around is a dusty exit sign for Barstow, California. The moment you step out of your car, the heat hits you like a blast from an oven. The sun beats down on cracked sidewalks as tumbleweeds lazily roll by, the only things that seem to have any momentum here. Barstow was once a bustling stop on historic Route 66, but progress left it behind. Now, it's a collection of truck stops and fast food joints, barely surviving on the wallets of passing travelers. And yet, somehow, 25,000 people call this place home. The summer temperatures often soar above 110 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat isn't just uncomfortable, it's suffocating. But that's not the only hazard. The California State Water Resources Board has documented high levels of perchlorate pollution in the water, a chemical found in rocket fuel that can affect your thyroid. And then there's the crime. The FBI's Uniform Crime Report shows that Barstow's violent crime rate is a staggering 194% higher than the national average. Despite the small population, theft, assault, and murder are a constant concern. With an average home price of about $267,000, Barstow may seem like an affordable alternative to Los Angeles or San Francisco. But when you factor in the extreme temperatures, lack of services, and a violent crime rate that's almost double the national average, that affordability comes at a steep price. The nearest full-service hospital is an hour away, making it a particularly risky choice for retirees. If you think Barstow is a tough place to live, our next stop is even worse. 9. Pine Bluff, Arkansas. If you're looking for a town where the American dream has completely unraveled, you'll find it in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Once a thriving agricultural hub, it's now a graveyard of forgotten opportunities. Rows of abandoned buildings and boarded-up houses are all that's left of a place that was once the pride of the cotton fields and railroads. The struggle here goes beyond the abandoned buildings. Pine Bluff is a dangerous mix of crime and environmental hazards. This town is home to one of the largest toxic waste dumps in the United States. For decades, the land, water, and air have been polluted. As one resident grimly said, "If the crime doesn't kill you, the chemicals will." Pine Bluff is consistently ranked as one of the most dangerous places in the country. The violent crime rate is a terrifying 340% higher than the national average, and property crime is rampant. How do you rebuild a community when the very foundation it's built on is toxic and dangerous? For a retiree on a fixed budget, Pine Bluff might seem like a bargain, with an average home price under $100,000. But when you weigh the health risks, the crime, and the lack of opportunities, you have to ask yourself, is this really where you want to spend your retirement? 8. Gallup, New Mexico. As you drive through New Mexico, the desert landscape is stunning, breathtaking red rock formations and vast open spaces. But then you get to Gallup, and you realize there's a stark irony to this place. It's a town that's rich in Native American history and culture. Its annual intertribal Indian ceremonial festival is a vibrant celebration of dance and ritual. For the other 364 days of the year, however, Gallup feels like a deserted stage. The occasional flickering neon sign of a pawn shop is the only sign of life. And it's not just the physical emptiness, it's the overwhelming sense of despair. Gallup's economy is built on a foundation of pawn shops and payday loan offices. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the poverty rate is over 30%, far higher than the national average. Tourists may leave with cheap jewelry, but the locals struggle to afford basic necessities. Alcoholism is another major issue. New Mexico has one of the highest alcohol death rates in the country, and Gallup is no exception. At first glance, with an average housing price around $244,000, Gallup seems like a low-cost place to retire. But what do you get for that price? Limited services, minimal job opportunities, and a quality of life that is anything. 7. Camden, New Jersey. Just across the river from Philadelphia lies Camden, New Jersey. This city was once a proud industrial powerhouse. Today, it's a place where abandoned buildings stand as monuments to economic collapse and decay. The crime rate in Camden is a brutal reality. According to the FBI, it's one of the most dangerous cities in the United States. Violent crime is rampant, and walking down the street can feel like you're entering a war zone. While tourist attractions like the Adventure Aquarium and the USS New Jersey Battleship Museum are iconic, the neighborhoods around them are not places where you want to linger. The picturesque waterfront is overshadowed by the constant wail of sirens and the feeling that danger is lurking around every corner. Can a city survive when its school system is collapsing and its primary growth factor is its crime rate? As one retired teacher who lived in Camden his whole life told me, when the factories left, the hope left with them. Now all we have are abandoned houses, and all I can do is bow my head and hope tomorrow is safer. East St. Louis, Illinois. If you thought Camden was bad, East St. Louis, Illinois, is on another level. Located just across the Mississippi River from St. Louis, it could be a world away. The divide isn't just a river, it's the difference between a city that's trying to hold on and a place that's completely given up. Once an industrial hub, East St. Louis is now a crumbling shell of its former self, ravaged by decades of poverty, crime, and corruption. Even a simple trip to a fast food restaurant feels like a gamble. As one resident explained, if you take the wrong bridge and find yourself in East St. Louis, you'll quickly turn around. Trust me, you'll want to do that. The crime rate here is consistently higher than the national average, and violent crime is not uncommon. The infrastructure is collapsing. Empty streets, vacant lots, and abandoned buildings litter the landscape like a ghost town. When the factories closed, the jobs left, and the people followed. The mid-20th century wave of white flight left behind a desperate and disillusioned population. With an average home price around $36,000, East St. Louis might seem like an affordable option. But what does that low price really buy you? A high crime rate, an unstable economy, and a constant sense of danger. 5. Flint, Michigan. You've heard the headlines about Flint, Michigan, and its infamous water crisis. But did you know it still hasn't been fully resolved? For the people who live there, the fight for clean, drinkable water is a daily reality. The water crisis is just the beginning of Flint's problems. Unemployment rates are sky high, and many residents are stuck in low-wage, unstable jobs with no chance for advancement. Poverty has a grip on the town so tight that even if people want to leave, they can't. And the real tragedy lies in the future of its children. Lead poisoning can cause long-term damage to the brain, kidneys, and nervous system. And even though the water crisis made national news, the damage is irreversible for too many families. Flint was once the heart of the automotive industry and the pride of General Motors. But when the factories closed and the jobs were sent overseas, the city collapsed. What's left is a town where poverty and crime are an everyday reality, and the dream of prosperity is a distant memory. 4. Gary, Indiana. It's hard to describe Gary, Indiana, without using words like abandoned, forgotten, or even post-apocalyptic. Imagine driving through a place that was once a thriving industrial hub but now looks like the remnants of a lost battle. Abandoned factories line the streets like tombstones of a great economy. Decaying houses are scattered everywhere, and the stillness is only broken by the sound of wildlife rummaging through the streets. The decline of Gary is impossible to miss. The steel mills that once powered the city are gone, and so are the workers. More than half of the population has left in the past few decades. The crime rates are high, and the job market is almost non-existent. The city's education system is in disarray, and hope is hard to find. For those looking for an affordable place to live, Gary might seem appealing. The average home price is just $81,000, a fraction of what you would pay elsewhere. But what do you get when your new home is surrounded by crumbling buildings? 3. Stockton, California. When you think of California, you probably imagine beautiful beaches and wealthy cities. But Stockton shows you the other side of the Golden State. Once a prosperous city, Stockton's economy slowly crumbled, making it one of the largest cities in the United States to file for bankruptcy. The sense of decline is palpable as you drive through the streets. Broken windows, empty storefronts, and a tangible sense of struggle. But it's not just poverty and unemployment. Stockton is also grappling with gang violence on par with some of the largest cities in the country. The crime rate is 65% higher than the California average and 81.5% higher than the national average. Stockton is notorious for being one of the most dangerous cities in the U.S. The Diaz brothers, two UFC fighters from Stockton, are known for their incredible toughness. As they'll tell you themselves, you have to be tough to get out of Stockton. It's a place where you can't afford to let your guard down. But is that really the life you want for your golden years? 2. Atlantic City, New Jersey. Atlantic City was once the jewel of the East Coast, famous for its flashy casinos, bright lights, and bustling boardwalk. Today, especially during the off-season, it's a ghost town. Imagine empty boardwalks, the ocean breeze cutting through deserted streets, and flickering neon signs. It feels like a time capsule of faded glory. What happened? The golden age of gambling in Atlantic City is long gone. As gambling became more popular and people realized they could lose money elsewhere, the city's luck began to fade. The casinos are still there, but they're now surrounded by crumbling neighborhoods and shady characters. The economy has stagnated, and foreclosures are rampant. For those on a tight budget, it's tempting to think you can buy a home here and live near the beach. But what's the point of owning a house when the community is deteriorating, the streets are unsafe, and the place feels abandoned? 1. Monroe, Louisiana. Welcome to Monroe, Louisiana, a place where the weather hits you like a brick wall. It's not just the heat, it's the thick, wet humidity that surrounds you like a heavy, sticky blanket. The moment you step outside, you feel your skin sticking as mosquitoes swarm around you like relentless hunters. The weather is just one of the taxes you pay to live here. Poverty seeps through every street and every home. Monroe has a high unemployment rate, and the local economy has shown little progress for decades. The infrastructure feels like it's stuck in the 1970s, with crumbling roads and outdated buildings. When I made a video about Monroe a few years ago, I mentioned that the surrounding area had one of the highest rates of people fishing for dinner, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. It's a way of life born out of necessity, not choice. Monroe doesn't feel like a destination, it feels like a place you pass through,